All right, everybody. Welcome to another week of the Safely Extreme podcast here on Game Wisdom, where each week we discuss game industry and game dev topics. As always, I am Josh Placer, and joining me is my co-host, developer at Nexus Games, Sharky.
Hello, everyone.
How
Um,
are you doing?
I'm doing hopefully good because hopefully today I will get a new chair for my computer because my old one died. It just cannot handle all the muscle and cartilage in a shark kind of thing. So I had to get and the sheer height because sharks are like 9 feet tall, 9 feet long generally, so like normal chairs are not made for us kind of thing, being quote
Did
unquote really tall.
did the chair you ordered say specifically built for sharks on it?
Sadly, it did not. There's a really lacking in brands on that,
Uh,
you know. I mean, like there's been some aquariums like that, but no, not really any, chairs, especially in the gaming chairs that are ergonomic kind of thing.
hmm
Because I needed an ergonomic chair, and I was like, hey, if I could get a gaming version of that, let's go for it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although,
Eh,
from what I had heard before that point, is you could not get an ergonomic gaming chair. So until I actually, I was looking at ergonomic chairs, and then it's like, wait a minute, there's a gaming chair in there. Is there gaming ergonomic chairs? And went down that rabbit
yeah.
hole. And
Yeah.
actually, there's quite a few now, supposedly.
Nice. And the next big upgrade it seems I'm going to be looking at is going to be whether or not to go for an ultra wide or dual monitor setup with the whole Black Friday sale. So the quest begins for more hardware, I guess, this month.
I would definitely go with the dual personally
Mm,
because like with the ultra wide, you're going to have issues with the streaming kind of thing because like
yeah.
when you're doing the dual monitor setup, you can be like this monitor is a gaming OBS capture this monitor, and then
Mhm.
this monitor is all of everything else. This is chat and everything else that I need to read kind of thing, or all the functions that need to be seen and not seen to you but not seen to the audience kind of thing.
Mhm.
Where if you have a widescreen, then you're going to be dealing with, let's have OBS only capture this part of the screen, and then you
Mhm.
have like these two black bars on this side, and then you have to set your stuff to fit into that side, and I can only see that as a headache. Yeah, honestly.
Mm, yeah. And we'll have to see how things go, especially with Black Friday and everything being probably going to be very weird next month with what's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what it is. I mean, is this going to be the third wave of Corona when everybody's like trampling over each other in Black Friday to get these bargains, and then like everybody who goes to Black Friday gets Corona kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Let's see. In terms of again being timely for getting stuff, my Junji Ito books just arrived an hour ago. It missed Halloween by one day.
Oh, what is that?
Those are horror manga, like considered like some like the best of the genre.
Ah, nice.
And I had to order a children's book that a family member wants to use as a gift, so they put the children's book on top of the horror books,
Yeah, I remember you saying something about that.
which I think was probably a smart idea because you don't want. I didn't want that family member open up and see one of his sketches.
Yeah, the oh, I forgot to tell you the other bit of news.
Mhm.
Hopefully tomorrow. I think tomorrow, Monday. Yeah, tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow, I'll be hiring a new programmer that will hopefully work out,
Good luck with that.
or soon after tomorrow, sometime next week,
All
hopefully,
right.
or this.
So, for those you missed, last night was Halloween at the time of this taping, and we played some horror games. And we're going to have to play a lot more horror in the coming months because I have a book to write by March 12th. So, gotta get back on that, and hopefully, I get back on doing some more of the library talks. Hope things, fingers crossed, improve in the next few months.
Yeah, I know I tuned in for a little bit of that sort of towards the beginning, and
Hmm.
man, that Halloween costume you had last night, that
It
was
was amazing.
truly scary.
Exactly. But with that said, for those of you watching, our main topic this week is going to be talking about gamers being addicted to bad design and where this comes from and what you have to be careful of as a developer.
Hmm.
Exactly, David. And we're kind of ahead of the curve because we already got next week's show planned. It's going to be talking about the rabbit hole of mobile development. And we'll talk about how Shark became a whale. Or are you a minnow or a guppy right now in terms of mobile?
I think I'm dolphin
Dolphin shark. All right. I'll have to change your title next week.
instead of Sharky Shark. It'd be Sharky Dolphin.
There we go. But in terms of news and things that's been going on, have you found anything interesting? Because I was trying to see, other than Cyberpunk 2077 being delayed, nothing else really stood out to me.
There was a couple. There was definitely some things, and I'm not remembering what they are at the moment. Uh, you can talk about something real quick, and I'll see if I can find something real quick.
All right.
Because I know there was definitely some stuff this week.
All right. Well, with the Cyberpunk news, the game being delayed, of course, is a bad thing, but the real kind of shock or not so shocker is that consumers were sending the developers death threat because the game was delayed 27 days, which is always a good look for gamers, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's like the best look.
Yeah.
Oh, I found something. Uh, EA has apparently been fined $10 million because of loot boxes and such. Who could have
Oh,
ever
well,
seen that one coming?
that's a shocker too. Like my costume last night.
Yeah, I mean, like they only made I don't know what, probably 100 billion, 100 trillion off of that, and they got a $10 million fine,
Hmm.
and that's well punishment.
Oh yes. And I was watching as I've been playing some of the mobile games. I've been watching streamers who play the big sports titles, and that whole loot box culture has really permeated that now.
Mm.
And I'm not seeing any news about on Gamma Sutra. Let's see. Watch Dogs Legion came out. Are you at all excited about that one?
No,
Yeah.
I've never been excited about any of the Watch Dogs though.
Apparently, I think I own the previous two that I've gotten for free from various Ubisoft related promos, and I've not loaded them up once.
Yeah, I mean, like in general, I'm not into AAA games anymore,
Mm,
just because there's not really hardly any left that I like to play. Like back in the day, there used to be a lot I liked to play, but
mm-hmm,
now not so much. Like PlayStation One, PlayStation Two era, I could not get enough of them, kind of thing.
mm-hmm,
But like I remember getting into PS3 and just seeing all the games I like just nearly completely dry up, and I was like,
yeah,
wondering at that point, am I going to even be gaming next gen, kind of thing. And then the Wii U came out, and I was like, oh my god, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I guess I
mm-hmm.
am going to be gaming, I guess, on Nintendo platforms because I see very next to nothing else I'm interested in here in AAA. And then I went to Wii U. There was, I think, 5, 10 games I was interested in there or slightly interested in and bought. And, it was like, is gaming dead at this point? At least to me at that point, because there was nothing for me. And then that's when I got a PC and shortly, just for streaming and making games, not for playing games. And then shortly after that, I got introduced to Steam and the wide world of Steam, and it's like, yeah, I'm really not interested in AAA games at the moment. Like there's some of them that like I am interested in, like the Mario plus Rabbids. I really want that on the Switch, but like I ain't buying a Switch for that. Because, I mean, I already own the Switch games on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like for me, again, like I've basically just fell in with the indie crowd over the last decade. So, all the AAA news just completely bounces off of me. And I see people, losing their minds about the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, I think it's called, and I'm just like, eh. Like, it doesn't, like, I don't even care at all about what those games are right now.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I would care if there was something. Oh, another one that caught my interest was Horizon Zero Dawn, which has come to PC, but it hasn't caught my interest enough for the price tag to actually have me get it, even on PC, kind of thing.
Let's see. In terms of, here's some good news that happened this past week. Terra Invicta. This is the Kickstarter grand strategy game from the makers of the Long War mod for XCOM. They wrapped up their campaign with a pretty enormous success. They were only asking for $20,000, and they made just over $215,000 for it.
Well, that's good because number one, 20,000 is definitely probably almost guaranteed not enough to make that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe enough to hire one person for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, who like who here well, you think about it, getting paid 20K a year is peanuts. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty normal for game development. Actually, I have hired people for far less because I haven't had any choice. But fact is that indie devs don't get paid very much, but 20K for 1 year of work is pretty dang low.
It sounds like they already had a lot of their initial funding from angel investors and they do have a publisher. And this was more of, we want to make this game better. Let's see when we raise some funding. And they certainly did. They hit each one of their stretch goals as well. And for those of you who don't know, Terra Invicta is going to be essentially a grand strategy version of XCOM. So you have to basically lead or figure out how to lead the Earth while there's an alien invasion going on. But it's more focused on the macro layer as opposed to the micro. It also sounds way above my league in terms of trying to learn it as well.
I hope they got good onboarding.
Oh, yes.
Because that'll be key to that kind of game.
And I'm pretty sure the success of the Long War mod is probably a big factor in the success of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah. But things are looking good, and I've been talking with the creative director. We had him on for a podcast like a few years ago, and we're going to see about having him back on for a live talk to discuss Terra Invicta in a few weeks.
Nice.
But I think with that, let us turn to some weird games, and then we'll get to our main topic. So let me switch things over. Hopefully everything just, works immediately. We'll see.
Yeah, just like
Oh.
Yeah, mine's definitely not working.
And I forgot the one thing. I need to update the window. There we go.
Same here.
I knew I forgot one thing there. All right, so our first game is Highforge, which I'm sure is not related to any other game that you can think of, right?
No, I've never heard of anything remotely close to that.
And this is one where the marketing points kind of brought this into weird games territory. I like this very first one. It's mixed aesthetics because mixing aesthetics is always a good sign, right?
Oh yeah, that is no red flags at all. I mean, that is exactly what sells the most amount of games, is having a very mixed match aesthetic.
Yeah. It's pixel art. It's modern lighting. It's full 3D.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there's permadeath.
is it also assets? Just a bunch of assets thrown together? Is that also what it is?
It looks like one of those early maybe 70s 80s kind of when they try to do the hand drawn but a very realistic background to me.
It looks to me like they got a bunch of assets off of whatever storefront for the backgrounds, and then they couldn't find anything that worked for the characters and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they got something else in pixel art for that.
Mm.
Or what they did was they already had the pixel art and stuff, and then they went with the 3D backgrounds because they want to do a 3D game, not a 2D game.
Yeah. And we were talking about just before we started the show this week about coming up with good thumbnails and how it can really make good images for a press kit. And some of these images are just very red flaggy to me.
Oh
Like
yeah, like
this one is just nothing. It's just assets.
yeah, all of them are red flags.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a non-red flag in here.
Yeah.
This is like every flag.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely good design around getting images to work, as we've said before, and we may spend a show talking about that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our next game is Japan Simulator. And this is one that just seems very weird. So we have, look, it's Japan.
Gotta love
For
the
Japan.
fourth screenshot.
Yeah, and Golf Girl.
I don't think normal Japanese girls look like that.
Are you
Could
sure?
be wrong.
I don't know. I've never been to Japan, so maybe they know something we don't.
I haven't either, but I have seen many things in Japan through
Look,
the internet.
computer and sushi. It's Japan.
Oh yeah, pretty sure there's nothing that looks like that in Japan either.
This was like a scene from a cyberpunk show right here.
The one after the computer one.
The one after that, after the sushi bar, the
Uh,
guy playing with VR.
the sushi bar one looks like Japan, from what I can tell, though. For the most part. Yeah, the cyberpunk one doesn't look like Japan.
Mm-hmm. And I
But
like
that
this
room is
list.
way too big. Japan is known for very, very tiny rooms.
Mm-hmm. Pop culture, anime girls, manga, ninja. Is it ninja the ninja or just one ninja?
Yeah. And did
Eat
Ninja
sushi.
get ever ninja'd?
Mm-hmm.
And are you
Full
ever going to
trip.
become the next ninja? Does it have you in it?
No. Oh, but speaking about streamers and games, we got a weird game coming up that's just that too. Look at this full trip. Go to the airport. Get your passport checked. Flight. It's everything that you need to experience Japan.
Yeah. I mean, is it time for somebody to make a passport simulator along the lines of Papers, Please, but based in China?
I don't know, but there is that. Oh, wait 1 second. I just noticed something is off with the camera. There we go. That's better. Yep. I don't know, but there was that game about the joy of flying coach for 4.5 hours straight. We should totally live stream that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. That seems like a joyous game to stream.
Now, this next one it started out looking like it was going to be a bad idea. I didn't like the name of it, but looking at the concept, I think this one could have potential. This is Time to Stop Time. And the idea is that you have to save people by stopping time, kind of like that Quicksilver scene from the recent X-Men movies, and save everybody before they're killed.
Yeah. I just don't know if I have time to check this one out.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you could stop time, then you could play all you want.
Possibly.
Like, this is one that I think it definitely belongs in the weird games segment. Like, it's such a weird idea, but it sounds really neat.
Yeah.
The question, though, is could they pull it off?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The question is the execution of it.
Yeah. And again, these screenshots just do not give high confidence. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, look at the last one. Could you tell what's happening here?
Neither does the aesthetics.
Yeah. It looks like just Unreal stock to me.
Unreal Unity assets. Yeah. And it probably is that. But, you know, as I said, there's nothing wrong with using assets. Just as long as you match everything to it or match it to everything else. And either way, you need to hire an artist or be an artist.
Yep.
You need to have an artist on staff either way. So, like, using assets is not a shortcut for not having an artist. It's just, you know, maybe makes it where you might have to pay the artist less because of the assets.
And speaking about art and aesthetics, from that last game where they're saying mixed aesthetics, that's not right. Because when I spoke with Jack on the round table, we discussed about the difference between art and aesthetics. Aesthetics is the emotion you're trying to convey. Art is the actual look. So there should actually be mixed art styles, not mixed aesthetics. Mixed aesthetics makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, to Ryu's point, yeah, and that's the other really good point, that Super Hot had an aesthetic to it. It looked very unique. This doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to put in for it because maybe this could be a sleeper hit like that. You know, that Sword Swinger game that we looked at last week where you have to, like, you know, plot the path of the sword. I thought it was a really nifty idea.
Well, I can pretty much tell you it's not a sleeper hit. It may be a hidden gem.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a sleeper hit.
Unless Markiplier and PewDiePie play it, right?
Yeah. Which that's all you have to do is just get them to play it, and you know you're good, right?
Yeah.
Nothing
so this next one is this next one is not so much a weird game, but it's one that definitely has some potential. This is the game that we played on one of the festival demos. Shiro, this was the brutally difficult platformer. And it is coming out next week, I believe.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
Besides the masochism aspect, how was it? Besides that aspect,
the controls were good, but I felt it ran to that problem of let's just keep putting more difficulty and more and more, and there's like nothing to kind of, I guess, temper it in a manner of speaking.
Yeah. So, sort of difficulty for the sake of difficulty.
Yeah. And just like, there's no real story or connection between the rooms. It's just, here's more difficulty, and here's more difficulty, and here's even more.
Yeah, it sounds like a game for masochists, but nobody else.
Yeah, so it's a game for me then.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this next one definitely has potential, and I'm really excited about it. This is Dismantle.
Oh, yeah, I know about this one.
Yeah. This is the open survival crafting game from 10 Tons. The developers, of course, behind Judge, Tesla Force, I forget some of their older titles.
Yeah, this one has been on my wish list on Steam for probably, I don't know, a year or two, maybe longer.
Yeah. Yep, mine as well. So I am definitely excited to check this one out.
Yeah, I think I might put in a key request for that one.
Unravel the mysteries of the strange island. Craft. I love craft permanent weapons. Thank you. No weapon breaking.
Yeah, no Breath of the Wild here.
Mm-hmm. Over 99% of everything can be broken.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's a handcrafted world that you can break everything.
I'm surprised you're into this one though, because this is very much a kind of survival game, sort of like 7 days, and that
Mm-hmm.
game you bounced off the other day without you were complaining about the UI of it. It's like that one just came out into early access.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that I like about it is it looks like they're going for this is not a game about starving. Like this is one that you are supposed to grow in power, and you are supposed to reach a point of equilibrium and then grow beyond it, which is kind of like my issue with Don't Starve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
so
7 days has always had that, but it takes a while to get into it, kind of thing, because like I
mm-hmm.
know we just started a new server the other day, and we've been fighting starvation really hard for the last I don't for the first like 14 days, and then just all of a sudden, like the 15th day, we just had like a good bit of food. We weren't starving anymore. We were actually, instead of being at like 40, 20, 20 hunger, 40 hunger out of like 125 for the first time, with all three of us. For the first time, we were all at like 125 out of 125, and had like like enough in the storage to eat, from 0 to 125, probably five more
Mm-hmm.
times. Five, not five for each of us, but five between us, three.
Yeah. The one thing that I find very weird about Dismantle is that this game was announced, I think, before like Tesla Force. I was kind of wondering. I was surprised that this came out later in early access. So I wonder just how much work has been put into this one to make it kind of like a really strong opening.
Yeah, I
Because like
don't
you
know.
said, like it's been in like early access, or it's been like coming soon for a year now.
Yeah, and from what I've learned, and this could be wrong, but from what I've learned, you don't want to do that. You don't want to put out. You don't want to. From what I learned, is you probably want to put your Steam out page out about 6 months before you launch. But this is assuming that you're doing all the right steps, with marketing
Yeah.
kind of thing, and like if you aren't doing the right steps, then probably like the sooner you can put it out, the better. But if which is lots of red flags, but if you're doing it, trying to do things the right way, you probably want to put it out 6 months before you release your game,
Mm-hmm.
and don't just put your Steam page out there. Put it out on an explosion kind of thing, like before you put it out, like contact all the press and tell them you're putting it out. Give them all this information. Try to get pieces. Try to make it an event of that your game is now on
Yep.
Steam, and then you start your marketing push. After that kind of thing, and you push. You don't start. Maybe you don't start immediately after that, but maybe you start a little bit after that. Like maybe do a little drip feed at for like a few months kind of thing, and like then like really hardcore for like the last 6 weeks kind of thing, 5 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I hope it does well for 10 tons.
I do too.
All right. So our next one, I'm sure you guys can figure out why this makes the weird game just by the first screenshots alone.
It seems pretty calm. Robotic brutality. 2020.
Hmm.
There is nothing in there that is slightly questionable.
Yeah. Also, I like this final paragraph. You might wonder what is the gameplay in this game. You're going to choose what happens at key parts of the story. It's all about you. You are in control of the story. I like this is basically an interactive story in which you play the role of a cop made of actual paper. So why is it called robotic brutality?
because it's robotic and brutal, and 2020.
I like this one. This is a really good screenshot. What do you prefer, ninjas or dinos? It's the eternal question.
Yeah, like I talked to you about this before in other games, but they're definitely billboarding very clearly in this game.
Mm-hmm. You sure?
Yeah,
This
uh,
looks so realistic to me.
I mean a lot of the like if you see any like 3D game like a 3D shooter or something that has those like pixel art graphics kind of thing, they're doing this exact thing. They're billboarding. It's
Oh
just the
my.
sprite is attached to the billboard behind it.
Wait, on the same to the last thumbnail, what is this guy holding on the left? It's like a giant mushroom.
And I think that's supposed to be a shovel.
Oh, okay.
It's a very weird looking shovel.
I'm sure this is going to win a best graphics of 2020, right?
Oh, and I just realized we're going to get demod on that last, in the next to last image. The one with the shovel, the weird shovel. Because look
Yeah.
at the other guy.
Uh-oh.
It's showing something on his chest.
Oh no.
I can't say that or else.
Mm-hmm. Oh my. All right, so this next one, I really don't know what this one's about here. This is when the streaming Lila taken from under him overnight. Pay money Wubby. Is that an actual streamer?
Maybe.
I don't know,
I
but
mean,
apparently,
it's crazy enough to be one. I mean, when you look at the character, it looks like a streamer
mm-hmm.
in a streamer kind of costume
Oh
thing.
my god. And his team of modders played through levels crafted around popular community memes and members with light comedy cutscenes.
Oh, then that's definitely a streamer. There's no way this is
Oh
not a.
god.
This is like a fan game or something.
Again, people, I'm waiting for somebody to make Streets of Josh, the epic beat 'em up hardcore dungeon crawler.
Oh, I was going to make the Josh game, but it was going to be side-scrolling Josh.
Okay.
Where you side-scroll and then you have all these slow-moving, homing, bouncing projectiles coming at you.
Yeah. And don't you love that final sentence? Expect mediocre platforming, underdeveloped combat, choppy storytelling, and lots of ironic or not jokes throughout the experience.
Oh yeah, and another thing is I was going to make sure that there's this really weird hitbox that sort of looks like an explosion on top of your character kind of thing, but you won't be able to see it. So like, at some points you'll be right up on an object and it won't hit you, but other times you'll be like 3 or 4 inches away from it and it'll hit you.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. These are some great screenshots too.
Oh yeah, amazing screenshots.
Alright, and I have one final game for the list this week.
I thought we had two.
I don't think
Never
so.
mind. High Forge got picked twice apparently.
Okay. And we have Banana Man. Oh, good. Thank you, Thomas. House of Josh, House of Pain. There we go. All right, we should do a contest. We can come up with the best name for the Josh game.
Yeah.
All right, so this is according to the game, this is a platformer jumping challenge game. No, I'm sorry, not platformer, platform jumping. So I don't know if there's any plates in this one.
Yeah, it sounds like there's no plates, which is that's a red flag right there. That there's no plates
Mm-hmm.
in this, and also like I'm not seeing any inclusion of plate form gas.
Mm-hmm. Jumping your way up. Simple controls is extremely challenging. It's only 5 levels with over 300 lines of text or 300 lines of dialogue. That's a good one, Matthew.
I mean, are you getting a line of dialogue after every jump you make?
Oh, I hope so. Like that Haku game, remember?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it kind of looks like that's what you're actually getting here when you look at the screenshots because it's like you have like what is that screenshot number 4? You're in like the middle of a platform. You know, there's platforms in both directions, so this is clearly not the beginning or the end, unless there's just multiple ways to go right at the start, which would be
Yeah.
really weird and a red flag of its own. But there's sitting there dialogue right there, and then you look two screenshots. Wait, two screenshots later. Is that the same? No, never mind.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
no sharks this week. Maybe sharks fell out of favor again, Ryu.
yeah.
Yeah.
We need
And
more shark games.
here's kind of like a very weird point. It says the game's extremely challenging, but I'm not seeing that in these screenshots.
Yeah, I'm betting it's controls and UI and UX and just frustration rather than being hard.
Yeah. Like, here's something. If you look at the second screenshot, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see my mouse pointer on this stream, but if you look on the far left side, where there's a block and then there's a block kind of like to the bottom right of it, that looks like a character wide jump to make. And if that's what they're going for difficulty, then it just seems like we're going for frustration rather than interesting platforming.
Yeah, it
And I
definitely.
have no idea what the physics are going to be of this kind of game. Can I stop on a dime? Do I have complete control over my character in the air?
Well, let me bring up a point here that goes right along with your point. Look at the third screenshot. Look at the name of that level,
Or is it frustration?
and then look at the map.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think you were point on with what they're going for. They are 100% going for frustration.
yeah, like, again, like if the character is hard to control,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be a pain in the you know what to actually play through.
It's going to be challenging in a bad way, not
Yeah,
challenging in a good way. It's going to be challenging in hey, I just made this game in 20 minutes on a game jam kind of thing. Challenging rather than this is a, Dark Souls challenging that has had 3 years worth of work put in it. It's, hard but fair.
yeah,
This is
and
hard and very, very unfair.
and to Hazchek's point, yeah, the platform placement is just very generic. It's just here's character wide platforming, just do it again and again and again. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like we see from a lot of like lesser Mario makers, where it's we're going to require you to do pixel precise movement for 5 minutes straight. Beat this level.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, but it's not interesting.
It's not fun.
Hmm it's not really like any kind of growth to these mechanics. It's just, can you do this exact precise set of actions for the next 10 minutes perfectly? No, then you can't win.
AKA Kaizo.
Yeah,
It's like
and Kaizo
Kaizo
games are
Light.
free.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why would you pay for a Kaizo game when you can get it for free? Why would you pay for your masochism when you could get it for free?
Exactly.
And, Kaizo designers are probably looking at their levels compared to this. There's a heck of a lot more interesting Kaizos than
Yeah.
this level looks like. This looks like just like a failed Kaizo game made into its own thing rather than, Mario kind of thing.
Yeah. And I was just watching Grand Pooh Bear, who streams a lot of Kaizo and Mario related stuff, and he was playing a Kaizo hack for Super Mario Brothers 3 that features entirely unique mechanics that have never been before seen in Super Mario Brothers 3.
Hmm.
So there is room for creativity. You just need to have the skill and the knowledge to do that.
Yeah.
And I am not seeing it here. And I would like to know why this game is considered a strategy title.
It's
It's
just
just like Chromasia.
Yeah, it's a strategy of can you make this pixel perfect, jump. I mean, that's the strategy right there.
Yeah.
If you can't
And
nail that
there are
kind of strategy,
labeled,
then you fail.
I expect Chromasia to be labeled a first-person shooter visual novel when it gets re-released.
Yeah, and we all know that visual novels are strategy games because you have to strategically press the button to go forward to the next page because if you push anywhere else, that strategy won't work. You have to have the strategy of
Mm-hmm.
pushing the forward button. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're just going to fail at the game.
Yeah.
If you don't get good at that strategy, every game is a
Mhm.
strategy, right?
Yeah. Every game's a visual novel.
Yep, and every game's a RPG.
There we go. And to Matthew's point, yeah. And for the people who do like Heizo, they're going to seek it out. And it's one of those, very weird areas because there's a very healthy market of people who play those games, but it's not being healthy enough to actually like build like an economy around.
Yeah,
Yeah. Massively multiplayer visual novel. Yep.
there
Yep,
we go.
there you go. Every game is a survival game.
Yeah, because if you don't keep on going, you're not going to survive. You don't get good, you're going to. I mean, even visual novels are not are survival games because the fact is if you don't keep on clicking that button, you're not going to survive till the end.
Yep. And again, every game's a role-playing game because you're playing a role.
Yep, exactly.
Mario is just like Final Fantasy, which is just like Doom Eternal.
Which is just like Dead Cells.
There we go. We did it. We cracked the code of the game industry. Hey,
The
Mike.
the Da Vinci Code.
Mm-hmm. All right. But I think with that, let's get to our main topic. And we're going to be talking about being addicted to bad designs. Like, yeah, that could actually be a good example of what we're going to be talking about, what Ryu just said.
Hmm.
But our topic kind of came from our Discord. I think Pony's the one who suggested this about a week ago. And as we've seen with many games that become cult classics and niche hits, or niche successes, at least among their small communities, that people become very defensive of mechanics and design elements that they feel are integral to the experience.
Are you sure
The
about that? I've never seen anything like that on Steam with people, you know, protesting that the game is perfect and all the flaws are just, they need to be in there. I've never seen that
Mhm.
on Steam. Are you sure about that?
Never, like, people don't complain on Steam. That's a
That,
rare occurrence.
and to Ryu's point, every game is a platformer because every game that you play, you're standing on a platform. Even a visual novel, because the whole
Hmm.
entire stage is a platformer where your characters are there talking. They're standing on a platform. So all games are platformers.
Hmm. So the latest example of this kind of trend is from the game Ghost Runner. And you had a chance to watch the recording of the stream, right, when we played it?
I think I've seen it live.
Okay, that was the all the synth and just high stakes sword samurai
Yeah,
killing.
you played it 2 or 3 times, didn't you?
We played it during the festival, and then we played the real version of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've seen it both times.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh no. Did you say the words you should never, the forbidden words there? Hashtag Undertale being bad. I mean, if you just say that out loud, people will attack you. They'll just magically appear.
Yeah, I've said that too many times.
Well, I just said now, so it's gonna the my chat should be filled with people saying how much I suck now. It's kind of like the Beetlejuice. If you say it, oh, well, you only say it one time, and then they will just come after you. So with Ghost Runner, this is a game that is explicit. I actually got my review finished. It'll probably go up tomorrow or maybe later today. And it is a game that is explicitly designed around high speed, hardcore play. Excuse me. It has that. Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. It has that kind of play to it that you are going to be stuck on a section for minutes at end until you get that one perfect run, and then you move on to the next section and then get frustrated.
Yeah. Like, it just, like, from what I've seen, it seemed like it was all the same game. Like the core mechanics were just, was all there was to it. You just jump from point A to point B, dash, or, and then cut somebody, it seemed like almost like a Mario game if they took out, like, all the different kinds of jumps and just put, like, one in there or something.
Yeah.
Seemed more basic than, like, the first Mario kind of thing.
And
Which I think the concept to it was really interesting, but, like, I think they really failed on, actual...
the implementation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I said in my review that the parts are there in terms of the high-speed play and, like the free running in terms of platforming. But what it comes together as just doesn't work as well as it should have. And those of you watching me play it the other night, you saw how much I was struggling with, lining up targets. Like, there were times where my button presses weren't being reported or being done by the game.
You know what it seems like? It seems like a really good, like, mid-alpha game kind of thing. Like they haven't introduced all the features yet, but it's, like, really solid so far. And they're going to add in a bunch of stuff to make it even funner kind of thing. That's what it feels like, what it seems like to me kind of thing.
And to Hashchick's point, yeah, it's very much in that. This is why I kind of describe it as very Hotline Miami-esque. That in Hotline, you are going to fail 20, 30, 40, 50 times in a single sequence before you get that one perfect run. And then when it works, it's like, the symphony going off, or when Ode to Joy plays in Peggle. And during those other 49 times, it's going to be a frustrating and annoying experience. I mean, for those of you who played Hotline Miami 2, you probably still have hard or painful memories of the Vietnam section, when you have snipers shooting from across the level, you running out ammo just as, the big guy gets to you and one-shots you.
Are you saying they have Vietnam flashbacks?
Yeah. They're getting a Rambo PTSD there. And this is the kind of the issue that we talk about. One second. Oh, my voice is still going in and out. But this is the issue that we talk about when it comes to people becoming addicted to bad design. Is that they view these games as the entire whole. That everything is good, there are no problems. Because if there's one problem, then that means the entire game is horrible and you're all stupid for enjoying it, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's people attaching their self-worth to that game being good. Because, I don't know what's triggered this kind of thinking, but, like, we need to try to stop it as developers kind of thing, I think.
Yeah.
As developers, like, I know I've never had that kind of comment, but, like, if somebody, complained about, something that was legitimate kind of thing, and not just trying to start crap, because there's that too on there. Yeah. But if somebody had a legitimately, like, it'd been nice if, the UI in this one section was more like this instead of this, because it's really kind of confusing kind of thing. And then somebody comes in after that. No, the game is perfect. And
you just suck.
Yeah. And I would have to come in. I would feel obligated to come in after that, which may be the bad thing to do. I'm unsure on that one. But I would personally feel obligated to come in there and be like, no, that's legitimate feedback, and we will look into seeing what we can do there, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and make the
And
game a better game.
and this is what when we've spoken previously about play testing when I've had John Brieger on for several times. That as a developer, you need to welcome all feedback. Because like we've said, somebody saying your game is the best game ever is as worthless as somebody saying your game is the worst game ever. It tells you nothing.
Same thing as if they say your font is good and readable, and the other one says your font is horrible and completely unreadable. Because I haven't had
Yeah.
that said to me
No.
20 times today. Because I have had that. Like I put up that on feedback on like I think like 7 or 8 channels, and so far the only feedback that I got that wasn't that is maybe I might need to mess with my saturation of my colors. But other than that, I've had like 20 or 30 comments that have been one or the other, and it's like that's useless and that's useless. It's like
Yeah, and I've seen that from like a lot of like Facebook groups and smaller like indie channels where somebody will post something and everyone's like, "Oh, this is amazing! I love it! Don't change a thing," and it looks incredibly rough there. And with Ghost Run, I was trying to pull up a screenshot as well while I'm talking. That there are people who are defending the hell out of the frustration in this game. There is a post on the forum. I'm not going to name who posted it, but the title is "Do not cater to the noobs, casuals, and fake gamers." Because
is he
they think
referring to himself?
maybe. And you know it's always great when the person capitalizes certain words in the sentence as they're typing it.
Yeah.
And again, this is kind of the issue. And and one of the lines the person says is learn from the best, learn from Software, when From Software has even admitted that their onboarding and dealing curve have been problematic in the past.
Yeah.
And I think what you said a few minutes ago about kind of internalizing these games or creating your self worth out of them is certainly, I think, a important issue. I think it's something that more people need to talk about. Like, I think that would be something we need to get somebody who studies like psychiatry or psychology on to discuss more about.
Yeah. I wonder how much Ramin would know about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, he
he
does.
could know a good bit about that, depending on.
I know he studied neurology, or he has like studied like brain chemistry in the past.
Yeah, so like he may be somebody good for that, but he may not be. You'd have to talk to him and see.
Yeah, I do have my contact, Jamie Madigan, who is a psychologist
Mm-hmm.
that we could talk to him about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is the issue about this. Like when people, well, let's talk about this from both sides. So we'll talk about from the design standpoint of the consumer, and we'll talk about from the developer. Like from the consumer side, this is not how you want to play video game. And this is what we see as an issue with hardcore fan bases to titles, where they'll say there are no problems with this game, and they cannot understand that there's an issue with it. And again, like I've said this before, I am anti fanboy. Like I do not fan out about anything. Part of that I think is I become a pessimist less realist. But the other part of it is that I don't let, consumer culture consume me. That was not easy to get out.
Yeah. I mean, with me, like, I don't fanboy out about anything, but like, I do fan out about some things, but not fanboy because there's definitely a difference between the two. Which definitely needs to be stated here because like being a fan of something just means you enjoy certain things. It doesn't mean that you know, like if a thing is flawed, you're probably going to point it out. You're probably going to be the first one to point it out because you're a fan of the thing. You really
Yeah.
want that thing to be the best of that thing, kind of thing. Where when you fanboy out about something, it's or fangirl out about something, it's there is no problems.
And
Like
how
every
dare you
problem gets
say
just swept under the rug, and if you dare point out any of those things, you're not a gamer. You're this, you're that, and just off the wall kind of thing.
yeah. Oh, and I should take a bet now that when I post my Ghost Runner review, somebody's going to declare that I'm not a gamer in the comments.
There you go, David. I would say the same.
Are you a fanboy though?
No, no, definitely not.
And oh yeah, and I'm sure about this. Like I had people saying because I didn't like La Mulana that I don't like hard games. Which at this point, anyone who says that, their opinion is officially invalid if they try to say that I don't like hard games these days.
I mean, you don't like hard games. I mean,
I don't play Dark Souls here,
no, you've never played Dark Souls. You never played
or
any
Mario,
hard
or
games.
platformers.
Yeah, you never played Kaizo games. You never played Celeste.
Oh, oh, speaking about Celeste, I'm in the 6% crowd who actually finished that game without using the assist mode.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But you've never
So,
played those kind of games.
oh. And the problem, this is what I talk about and I'll get to a Hashchick's comment in a second. This is the problem that we talk about when we are looking at using achievements to grade the quality of a game. That you can have somebody say, this is the best game ever, don't change a thing, but they may be part of the 0.00075% of the people who bought the game who actually beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go on a little tale or a little story here on my channel. I'm going to pull back up the achievement pages for Ghost Runner and Spelunky 2. Give me 1 second here. Because I want you guys to see this. This is the official stats for Ghost Runner. So, right off the bat, we see an enormous drop of going from not even a 90% achievement to 74, and then 52.9 for the first story achievement. And this is something that I found very interesting. I didn't get that achievement running out of breath. I got tired and annoyed with this game before that. So if for a game to lose me that early is a major red flag. And the fact that it lost almost half of the people who bought the game is a serious issue.
Yeah. I mean, like, drop off is going to happen either way. But, like, you don't want you don't want a larger drop off in the first hour of the game. You need to I think you need to have try to at least have 70% at the end of an hour. And that's what, like 40 minutes into the game or something?
Mm-hmm.
And over 50% at that point dropped off?
And this right here, finish line, which I'm assuming that is the end achievement, sits at 18.5%. So what that tells us is that only 18.5% of the people who bought Ghost Runner actually beat the game. And as I said, not last week, but the week before, that is not a good grade for a game like that, or for games in general.
Yeah. I mean, like, we hear terms about, completionists and all that other stuff, and the fact is how many of those people are actually completionists, and how many played it all the way through because they wanted to play it all the way through, and how many of those were streamers that were forced to play it all the way through because they were streaming it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't do that, or I don't prescribe to that, because I'm sure you guys would force me to play all those horrible games to 100%, right?
I mean, we you're still owe us that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Blindfolded, too.
Yeah.
And this, again, is a very big issue for these kinds of games. That if you're losing that much of a drop-off, or having that high of a drop-off, there are concerns. I have one other example, and then I'll go back to my normal view. We go to Spelunky 2. And Spelunky 2 got a lot of glowing reviews from developers. It's got a lot of praise. Like I think IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, saying it's an amazing title. But then when we look at this drop off, something is not sitting right. Again, beating the first world, we almost had a 50% drop off. We had a 43% drop off. And that's 1-4. So that is 369. That's about 12 minutes of playing this game. Almost half the fan base couldn't get past it.
Yeah, and here's the question: in that first 12 minutes, is there anything really different between Spelunky 1 and Spelunky 2? Because
More difficulty.
besides the difficulty, the
Uh,
the bad kind of difficulty at that.
mhm. And right now, I am sitting right here. Oh wait, where's the one?
The chosen one.
I am sitting at the chosen one. I made it to the super hidden level. I almost need a 1% ET. There we go. So I am sitting at the 5.6 of the people who played Spelunky 2 right now.
Because you're a masochist.
Yeah, of course. And even this is what I find very surprising. Even kind of the roguelite aspect of playing the game using shortcuts, not skipping all that annoyance. Only 7.3% of the people actually have done that. And I'm pretty sure I just wonder if those people are the ones who beat the game and beat the game Iron Man style, and they just saw him to get the Journeyman achievement as well.
Probably.
So I'm going to switch back to normal.
Well, I would assume 5.6% of that, because 5.6% have the Iron Man, so only another less than 2% got it on its own, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're going for the Iron Man and failed at it and happened to get that one along the way.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is what we talk about. Now, is Spelunky 2 a bad game? That is, we'll have to have that topic another day. But there are people who want to see more approachability and quality of life features in Spelunky 2, and they are being shouted down by the fans on the forums.
Yep.
And this is what you have to be really careful of as a developer when you're listening to that, what is it, a vocal minority. That yes, you may have 10 forum posts saying, this game is perfect, don't change a thing. But if only less than 10% of the people who played your game were actually making progress, they may not be the wisest people to take a business strategy advice from.
Yeah. Although that said, without good feedback, there's not much, as a developer you can do to course correct.
Mm-hmm. And I want to turn to Hashtag's comment here. Do you guys not think that this is the kind of cult following that allows games to thrive? Do you think the publishers and AAA devs want to create this kind of behavior? And yeah, they definitely want to create that kind of behavior. We've seen it with Halo, the BioWare game, Nintendo. Pick any major franchise or brand.
Sports games.
Mm-hmm. Fortnite, Animal Crossing, Fall Guys. But we're probably going to be seeing with Among Us at some point. And people, and I think to David's point, that, we love our heroes. Yeah, that's where this kind of fanboy culture comes from. The idea that we want, our favorite game or our favorite properties to succeed.
To Hascheck comment, I would also say that I don't think it's a cult kind of thing. But I do think that publishers and AAA developers are definitely trying to create that kind of behavior kind of thing, because that's the reason why EA is still in business, to be honest. Because if they did not create that kind of behavior, EA would have been out of business long, long ago. And they will probably stay in business for long, long to come because they have created that sort of behavior. And yeah, I mean, all publishers, well, most publishers, I won't say all, most publishers are definitely pushing towards that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
and but I don't know if it's a cult. Like I mean, it may be an inadvertent cult kind of thing. I guess maybe a cult with no specific leadership. Just where everybody knows who's in it by the stupid crap they say. It's like, you're a fellow cult member. I like you. You know, you know, you're not a real gamer because you can't get good at this game kind of thing. It's like that's one of my fellow culties right there. That's my buddy right there.
Yeah. And this is something that we see from Blizzard. And you can kind of see, I think, to Hashek's point, like, we've seen developers try to embrace that, asking for, fan art, fan community stuff. The whole idea of having fan conventions, BlizzCon, TemoCon for Warframe. I'm going to piss off the Warframe people on top of the Undertale people for missaying that, for mispronouncing that. And like we've said before, fan culture when it comes to games is a double-edged sword. You need fans. You need people to evangelize your title. They need to get that word out because when your game is that good and it's that, marketable like that, it kind of, the marketing machine becomes sentient. It just goes on its own at that point.
Yeah, it
But
goes sentient by that basically cult.
yeah,
That inadvertent cult.
but as we said, the issue though is that if your fans become too passionate, too hardcore, then you kind of become shackled to them. You can't make any change to your game without getting the blessing of those people. And if you try to make any change to your game, they see it as you are appeasing the SJWs or, you
Catering to
are
these people.
break. What was that?
Catering to these people or catering to
Yeah.
that people.
And how dare you? You are abandoning your fans and all that.
Yeah, and I would be like, I'm just trying to make the best game I can. If
Mm-hmm.
if, if it doesn't please you, then you don't have to buy the next one or this one if that is the next happens to be the next one. But I would like you to buy it, but only if you want to buy it. I don't want you to buy it just for the sake of buying it. I want you to buy it because you want to buy it.
Yeah. And I think that right there is a very important point because one of the things that we see from some of the developers who do this right, Clay Entertainment, Kitbox Games, I think are two like the standout examples that I can think of. They've built up a very healthy community of people who not only like their games but like them as a developer,
Hmm.
and they are more than willing to talk about any issues they have with their games. They're not going to, just say their games are perfect. So they have people who buy their games because they genuinely love the idea of it. I know Boyfriend Dungeon is like making the rounds right now, but they have just as many people who will buy their game because they like Kit Fox as a developer.
I know I had made a mistake on our last game, and you know, I was thinking it was a lot closer to perfect than it was. I knew it wasn't perfect, but like we just kept on making adjustments and everything, and kept on tuning everything and getting everything just right kind of thing to where like everybody who was doing testing, which we had like 6 or 7. Well, by the end we had about 12 people, but like throughout the main development it was only like 5 or 6. But through by the end, with my fresh eyes and everything, we had about 12 total. But by the end of it, like none of them had any feedback on how to make the game better, and they were all really good at making giving feedback because they wouldn't been on the testing team if they worked, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even Tomo was on there, and but now hindsight 2020 kind of thing. Like I'm seeing all these flaws in there myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is the issue that's the other side of this problem when it comes to only listening to the people who say these games are perfect, and they've kind of internalized these issues. Is that without feedback, you're not going to be able to improve. Let's just say that. Like, there's no developer who will just get better without just like making their games in the ether and releasing them.
Yeah, I mean the only way to get better at that point is if it's self feedback kind of thing. But like self feedback can be very bad at the same time.
Yeah.
So especially if it's only the main time you really run into issues with self feedback is when it is only you, friends, and family who's looking at it. Like if there's plenty of strangers looking at the game at the same time, then there's probably not going to be any issue with self feedback kind of thing. But if in other words, if you have good testers, and family and friends don't make good testers. Yeah. I mean, occasionally you can find one that is a good tester, but that'll be the rarity kind of thing. Because usually most family and friends will be like, yeah, it's good. I really like all this stuff and won't complain about anything because they're your friend and family and they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah. And you have to be really careful again with understanding what pulls people into your game. Because this is something that, again, we see from a lot of these titles that kind of build up a hardcore community, and then they start to, bubble up to the surface in terms of more awareness. Stuff like, again, La Mulana, Super Hot, any of these very unique games that, you didn't really hear about, and then you can't stop hearing about. And what we end up seeing happening is that when these games blow up, they get that influx of new people who are not, I guess, I'm not sure if tainted is, too extreme of a word, but, they don't have,
they're not predispositioned
to love this game.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of like that. And some of these games seem to have like the Emperor's New Clothes moment, where all the fans are like, "This game is perfect, and how dare you say anything differently?" And also you get like several hundred or several thousand people saying, "This is horrible. This is annoying. Why is this in this game?"
Mm-hmm. And the review score goes from like a near perfect to like 20% overnight. And then the fanboys are like, "Oh, they're just review bombing it."
There's no problems with this.
Yeah.
And Sky Shine's Bedlam is a really good example of that. Again, I brought this up before, that the developer, I interviewed him twice on two different podcasts about that game, and he said he was legitimately shocked at the negative feedback because he showed it to friends, he showed it to his testers, obviously, he took it to trade shows. Everybody loved it there.
Mm-hmm.
He put it on Steam, and the reviews plummeted. And when I played that first version of the game, the sad part, I saw every red flag within about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Like, I think the people at the convention didn't want to say anything, and that's the reason why they didn't get good feedback. And if I had to guess on the other people, his testers and everything, he had no fresh eyes because I knew that was going to be an issue from the beginning. I was like, we need to get testers in here, a variety of testers, one that never played this and one that did play this on the first run. But then I need to get more heavy critical people. I need to get people who know game design in the first one, basically, or game feel kind of thing, in general kind of thing. And then in the last one, I need to get so to speak experts to go through this. So like I looked at people who played, who streamed games, and whatnot. I looked at people who were professional game developers like Tomo, and
Mhm.
stuff like that to get that final pass kind of thing, because I didn't want to bring them in until I felt the game was, ready
Yeah.
for them. And then, where like I got all the, I got everything basically straightened out, and let me, bring all of you guys in to nitpick the hell out of things and find
Yeah.
every little flaw you can. And still, things were missed. Lots of things were missed, but it sounds like he did not have that set of fresh eyes towards the end, and I think that is very, very critical.
Yep, and this is why you need a revolving pool of testers for your games. Like you don't want the newcomer to play the very first version of your game. They're not going to tell you a damn thing. Likewise, if you're trying to get a fresh eyes approach, having your tester who spent the last 6 months playing your game 5 hours a day is not going to work for you. And
Yeah, I
I
don't
think what's
think
very go ahead.
I don't think if like you need to revolve out people in and out kind of thing, but like I because like testers are so hard to get, especially for an indie kind of thing.
Hmm.
But make sure you have some variety in there. That I think that is the key, and then have the fresh eyes at the end that are extra critical. Don't bring your extra critical people in at first. Save them for the end. Like I would want to save Josh for the end, for when I get him to play test. Kind of
Yeah,
thing. You know,
and,
and like
and
you know and just kind of get people who like the genre, get people who don't like the genre, and actually know about you know game design in some point. Maybe they have no experience in game design or anything, but maybe they've made a few little game jam games. Maybe they
yeah,
really into that genre, kind of thing. Maybe they're an artist, kind of thing. Anything along that lines, kind of thing. And then get
and
the fresh, hardcore, like they're going to nitpick your game to death at the end, kind of thing. And
yeah,
I want to talk to Hascheck's point here about the where do you get the average feedback? There is no such thing as average.
yeah,
Average is just you know as many people as you can get together, and then
hmm
you take the results from that and you average it out. I mean, average is a mathematical formula. There is no mathematical formula consumer kind of thing.
yeah,
So
and
it's about getting a variety of consumers to mesh together and each give you segments of feedback in areas, kind of thing, and then you take all those segments and you integrate all of them, and then you go forward from there.
yeah, and I want to add on what you said there about having like a good pool or having different people at different times. Like for myself, I would honestly say I would be horrible to give a new user experience because that's not what I am anymore.
Mm.
I have I play at least 70 to 100 games a month these days. Like asking me to give a fresh eyes experience would be practically impossible. And this was something you have to be aware of when you're looking at feedback. And whenever I ask for developers to submit games, for me to check out, I tell them up front, is your game at the point where you want somebody to, tear it apart? Because that's what I'm going to do. And some developers will hold off. They'll tell me, well, maybe I'll wait for another patch or two. And that's what you want. You want to make sure that your game is ready for people to look at. And uh, and to add to Hashcheck's point there, yeah, like again, like for if you're looking for like game dev feedback or design feedback, both my Discord and Sharky's Discord, we have game dev submission sections, and we allow people to post their games, and we'll take a look at it and see what we think.
Hmm. And the thing is though, me and Josh are not your average consumers, kind of thing. We're
Hmm.
like I guess let's put this into video game terms. Like Like you need your minions and your first, you need your first level bosses and all that stuff. That's your regular group of testers kind of thing. And
Hmm.
you want to run them until you get to beta, until you get, everything fixed that you think needs to be fixed based off of them kind of thing. And then once you get to that, once you clear all of them, that's when you go to the final boss, and this would be your fresh eyes, that would be people like me, Josh, you know,
Hmm.
Tomo, other professional developers that have been doing
Yeah.
this for many, many years, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tim Rustwick, anybody who's on our roundtable basically, or ever been on our
Yeah.
roundtable, anybody like that would be, great people for, kind of final boss. And you want multiple final bosses. You want, as many fresh eyes on it as you can that are, extremely critical and will tear your game apart basically. They will nitpick it to death. And, and if you hit a really sore point with one of us, then you have a really severe problem kind of thing. But you know, you know, the thing with feedback is you need to consider number one who it's from, because everybody's biased. Like Josh is definitely biased towards UI design and
Hmm.
everything. I think I'm biased towards story and whatnot, and maybe we're probably both biased towards gameplay mechanics kind of thing. And there's all this different stuff. Everybody has biases, but you know, you don't use a bias to say that this person's feedback is null. You use this to find out sort of where they're coming from, and you
Hmm.
look at it and you look at it from your designer's eye, and you see if they there's a difference between pointing out a problem, which is something that probably me and Josh would do, versus pointing out a potential solution, which is something your average testers will probably do. you know
Hmm.
where your average testers will be like, hey, why don't you make the jumping a little bit higher kind of thing in your platformer. And you run into that issue and you diagnostic and find out, you ask them questions to why they're asking that, saying that, and then you find out that the reason is because they're having a lot of trouble reaching this one platform, because either your platform needs to be moved down a little bit, maybe you need
Jump
more
distance.
variable in your jumping, maybe you need a double jump. Maybe they haven't figured out that the double jumping is right around the corner, just like one
Or
room away, and they're stop trying to make that jump that they're not doing, and you need to give them more tells to tell them to go over and get the double jump that they're not realizing. Like there's many different when they offer a solution, you need to try to find the problem. Where people like Josh and I are probably going to point out the problem rather than the solution. We might point out a few suggestions for the solution, and keep in mind that even once you have know the problem, there may be a bunch of ways
yeah,
to solve that problem.
yeah, and here's the. I was just reading this. This kind of gave me my today's like out body moment from that thread on the Ghost Runner forum about the game is perfect. There are no issues. I want you to listen to this quote, Shari, and see how many red flags you can pick out.
All right.
This person says casual games have a place in the industry. They act as a containment zone for the noobs, casuals, and fake gamers. And those four words are all capitalized too. The problem is when they try to migrate and destroy true games, they need to learn to know their place. Mm,
There, I think every one of those words were written on a red flag. Like that is like the
with red marker?
pledge, that is the pledge of allegiance to the red flag of the United Red Flags of Red Flagia, to the
There we
red
go.
flag public for which it flows.
One nation under a red flag.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
uh,
And like we've been saying that, yeah, like, and to Hashek's point, that, yeah, you want to get, like, most consumers will never be able to pinpoint the exact problem. And I think you've used this analogy before about it's kind of going to the doctor. That
mm-hmm.
you go to a doctor, you're going to be able to point to the symptoms. You're not going to point to the diagnosis. And as a developer, it is kind of your job to figure these things out, whether you want to or not. Because ultimately, this is what leads to really solid games. You can have, like, to Shark's example about platforming, you can have 20 different people give you 20 different variations of the jumping sucks. I can't make this jump. The platforming's terrible. Your game is terrible. And so on and so on. And you're going to have to kind of read between the lines, figure out where are these people stopping? Because those 20 people may all be stopping at the same exact point. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they'll have 20 different complaints about that point.
And 20 different solutions for it.
Oh, yes.
And see, this goes back to the doctor reference. Basically, what it is, we're, the equivalent of like Josh and I, who will point out the problem, is be like, hey, my stomach hurts. I don't know what, there's definitely something wrong with my stomach. It hurts in such and such way, and needs to be addressed in some kind of way. Where the testers that will offer solutions will be like, yeah, I think I might have like my stomach might needs to be halfway removed because half of it's like dead or something, or like I think I might have stomach cancer or something like that. And then as a game designer, the doctor, you go in there and diagnostic and realize that they just haven't went poop in the last month, and that's the reason why their stomach's really hurting. And you address that problem, kind of thing, so like they offer the solution, but that's never look at the solutions they offer you. Look, take the solutions and back work into the problem and find
It's,
that out. And I guess that would be, I don't know if that would be considered practical and theoretical, as Hans Chick says, but it's something along that lines, I guess.
it's kind of like that WebMD that no matter what you put in, it tells you have cancer.
Yeah,
That's what you want to avoid, basically.
yeah. I mean, like that's it. You made a game. Well, it's got cancer,
There we go.
and it is true that like you do have cancer. Like everybody has cancer. That's how bodies work, kind of thing. It's just the question on if you continue to have cancer after, because no, your body functions to get rid of cancer, and the way we define cancer officially is a bunch of diseases that we have no definition for.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it is like
This chat got, like, very dark very quickly, didn't it?
yeah, it did. Well, I mean, what did you expect from addicted to bad game design?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think if there's any other points I want to make. While I'm trying to think, anything that comes to your mind.
Um, hmm. Let's
Talk
see
about
here.
playtesting. We talk about consumer. I guess one thing I don't think we really kind of like. I don't think we really like went into too much detail about is how do you combat this as a developer? Because there are two ways. We've already talked about from the playtesting side that you want a fairly big pool of people to look at your games, from the novices to your hardcore. But
Big
I
and
think another,
variety. Variety. I think variety is more important than big, but like
yeah,
big can certainly help.
yeah. And I think the other part about this is how do you combat this from a community point of view? Because community management, community engagement, that is its own unique topic we could talk about in a future show.
What? Like, I'm no expert at this, but I would think the best way to do it is when you're talking about this. Let's just say on Steam, for example, a Steam review comment thing, or like Steam forum is like that. You should you should definitely not be aggressive to either one. You should definitely not be mean to either one. You should definitely accept the person's feedback, address the person's feedback, kind of thing. Um, and I think you should also address the other person and say, something along the lines of, this person has legitimate feedback, it, I think it is or isn't an issue, kind of thing, but, we'll see about if there's a way we can address this in some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe ask and then I would probably ask the person if they gave me a solution rather than a problem directly. I would try to chase down that problem, kind of thing. So tell me why you're saying this. Why are you saying that the jump isn't high enough for this one platform?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the double jump that was right around the corner? No, I didn't know about it. Well, then, what ways do you think that we could have pointed that out to make you notice it, kind of thing? And just get their suggestion, kind of thing. Now you got to the problem. Now you're asking for a new suggestion, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they know what the problem is too, because they didn't know that there was double jump around the corner. Now that they do, what is their suggestion? Because now their suggestion might be, well, make it where you can't access make it where the starting platform to jump on isn't at a place where you can reach it until you go into the locked door where the double jump is. So like you have to jump up into that room, kind of thing, and then you have to backtrack out of that room to be able to jump up onto that first platform, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although they may not suggest that, but they may, kind of thing. And you take whatever suggestion they have and you figure out whatever the best solution is for your particular game, which is going to be different every time.
Yeah, and I find it very fascinating. This one things again, like this could be. I feel I may go into tangent territory if I'm not too careful. That I was reading the Ultra Kill forums, and Ultra Kill is another high-speed, very challenging game, and I see no complaints at all about difficulty or problems with that game. And again, a lot of this. And this again is kind of, I think this will be my final point. And when we talk about avoiding bad design, it is about understanding quality of life, playability, approachability, UI, UX design. When a game gets all that right, it removes those frustrating elements. Like we've said before, a good challenge for a game is when the player feels like they're the reason why they lost. And that one sentence is like an hour to 2 hour long discussion. We really want to get into it.
Yeah, that would be a really deep one.
Yeah. It's one of those things that everybody likes to say their game is, but very few games achieve that point. And it's even harder, like beyond that, as a developer to design your game around that. And you have to understand that at the end of the day, you have to figure out what is the point of playing your game? What is the core gameplay loop? What are the true marketing points? Again, when we see people have marketing points, this game is bad, platforming is horrible. That's not what you want to be thinking about your game. If you are legitimately trying to make a game successful and make a product people want to buy, you have to sit down, think to yourself, why should somebody play this game? Why should somebody give me their time and money to check this out? And when you start to think about that, you start to realize, what is this actual point? Again, what Shark said, what is the hook of this game? If the hook of this game is to do let's go about Ghost Recon. Let's say the hook of this game is high speed combat with challenging enemies. Well, if it's high speed combat, that gameplay or that combat system better be as frustration free as possible. Because if there is any frustration in your core gameplay loop, it is going to be like a poison that trickles out to every aspect of your game.
Well, it's a multiple value because you're going to be doing your core gameplay loop so many thousands of times. Like your core
Yeah.
gameplay loop has to be basically perfect. Everything else can have flaws, but you need to get your core gameplay loop flawless as possible.
Yeah.
As perfect as possible. But everything else is going to have flaws. No, there's no perfect game, but you need to have as perfect of a core gameplay loop as possible because that is going to be that's a multiplicative. Like these side systems that you're going to go in every once in a while. If they're annoying, they're only going to be annoying for a few seconds that they're in them, and then they get out of them, kind of thing. But the annoyance in the core gameplay loop, there's going to be over and over and over and over, and it's going to be the
Mhm.
pain that never ends, the hurt that never stops, the
Yeah, and
scourge of the seas.
and here's something that's very important to understand. There are people who will work through that. Like we said, the hardcore super fanboys and girls, they're going to internalize those issues and be like, there's not a problem. Goes back to the quote unquote gamer tax or get good, as a lot of people will say.
Hmm.
But that is bad. You don't want people to quit your game because of those red flags. And like we said earlier, with Shark and I, when we play games, we can spot these issues within a good 20 to 30 minutes of playing them. Sometimes we can kind of move on and keep playing the game past it, but a lot of times we're just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. I
Yeah,
don't care if it gets amazing. I don't care what you're doing 20, 30 hours in. I'm pissed off 30 minutes in. Why should I keep playing it?
yeah. It all depends on where the mess ups are and
Hmm.
how severe they are. Like even a not a very light one in the core gameplay loop can just completely ruin it for us. But
Hmm.
a heavy one in a lightly used mechanic can be overlooked sometimes. Kind of thing. It's almost it is pretty much better to make a bigger mistake on a side system than it is to make a very very tiny mistake in your core.
Yeah. I mean, how many games have we played where the core gameplay loop or the core or the main UI has a serious or just even just a minor issue that just takes us completely out of the experience? Like
Hmm.
if I play a platformer and your jumping is just not refined, it's very annoying to jump, guess what? Your entire game is done for me.
Yeah, if
Because
every surface feels like ice.
yeah,
Even if,
and that
even if that's the theme of the game, that's a bad theme.
and here's the thing. That issue may only occur, once every, let's say it's a 2 second issue when you play your game, but it's 2 seconds repeated every 5 seconds of playing your game.
Hmm.
And it's just going to exponentially get bad. And like we said, when there's an issue with your core gameplay, it affects everything. If your game is a 50-hour long, 10-hour long, 5-hour long, whatever, every moment is going to be bad because of that one issue.
Yeah, like if it is like the platformer where like every because I seen somebody do this. They have really tight controls on really like everything seemed really good on the game except for every platformer. Every platform was like ice kind of thing because you were playing as I think a character that was like a slime or something, and you were
Hmm.
jumping around, and they're like, well, slimes are slippery and everything. It was like, well, then make other things, make the whole game slippery kind of thing, and then be like, well, slimes have traction on other slippery things because they're slippery too, kind of thing. And then
Hmm.
make it where the non-slippery things, those are the slippery ones, like inverse it kind of thing. Like if you're
Yeah.
going to do like that kind of thing, because you don't want every platform to be slippery because if they are, then you're going to have that problem every time you jump. And in a platformer, that's like every 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds, you're having 2 seconds of issues, like Josh said, and it's just going to add up. And, over 50 minutes kind of thing, you just had 20 minutes of hell, if not more than 20 minutes, because you had to go back and repeat the same thing 20 times because you fell off so far that you have to go back and repeat. So actually, it turns out, into maybe 40 minutes of hell rather than, out of the 50 minutes.
And here's my final point. I almost forgot, but this is the one I want to end this on. If you remember the game Brigador, that I spoke with Hugh Myhan about this several times. And one of the lessons that he learned was, again, what happens when you internalize frustration. In the first version of the game, it featured just pure tank-like controls. And again, his hardcore fans and he himself loved that. They felt that was the point of playing Brigador. And when people complained, they basically said, well, you just don't get this game. And what happened was the very first version of Brigador sold horribly. Because, yes, maybe there were people who liked that. But that was maybe only 10 to 20% of the potential fan base for that game. Mm-hmm. So he basically ate a lot of crow for that. And re-released Brigador using a more traditional, more easy to get into control scheme. And guess what? It got a lot more people to play it. And he learned that lesson the hard way, that just because something is your idea doesn't make it the best idea. And if hundreds of people tell you that maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you could do it another way, you should listen to them.
Mm-hmm. And I want to address Hazchick's point that we haven't talked about receiving, so much feedback that it paralyzed you. Mm-hmm. I mean, sort of. I've never gotten like usually 20 suggestions kind of thing. I think I may have gotten that one time, but it was on like a bunch of different things kind of thing. It's like, like on the font, like maybe the L should be longer, maybe the V should be shorter, maybe this should be, this, that kind of thing. They were all feedback on different things. I mean, the real paralyzed I get is when it's like, do like A, B, like here's 5 choices, A, B, C, or D kind of thing, or E kind of thing, and then I take it to 30 different people that vote and end up getting like I don't know, like almost even across the board, with maybe one that is subpar. It's like, okay, well, it's clear that I need to drop that one, but what do I do with these other 4? Do I put these 4 in another vote and just go at it again? And sometimes that's exactly what I do. Sometimes, I go to them and ask everybody, why did you pick these kind of thing? And then, it turns out I don't really like any of them, or I only really like this one, but you wanted me to pick my 2 favorites. So, I picked my 1 favorite and the one that was the least offensive kind of thing. And then, you find out that's kind of the result of everybody. But like everybody kind of had like 2 favorites, and then like their other 2 favorites, which probably not too aligned, but like, and then like everybody else for their second one almost balanced it out to where it was perfectly even for their it's okay kind of vote. and I found that kind of thing, and like there's been many instances, and you when you have a problem, you just have to I guess experiment and see which ways you can which way you think would be best, because like in the end there is no right way. What it is though is there's an easier way and there's a harder way, which you probably won't know until you do it. And the thing is but if you get enough experience with it, I think you can hone in on that right way a little bit easier kind of like thing. Like I know that if you're like think of it if you're in, backyard, trying to move this, 500-pound, log across, like 30 feet. What's the best way to do it? And it's uphill on, slightly, uh, uneven ground kind of thing. I mean, do you put something under it and have it rotate? Rotate it up. Do you take some sticks and lever it up? Do you take you rope and you tie it to it and you drill a hole all the way through the middle of it and tie the rope in there and pull it up like a wheel? What do you do? I mean, and it's kind of just you try to find the best solution you can, and if that solution doesn't work, you go to another one, and
Mm-hmm.
there is no right answer to that, but with experience, you can sort of get closer to being on target more times than not. I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, excuse me. Just as you're about to, just as you finish your thought, I had to sneeze. But I think, about our topics for this. Hey, Forn, he did ask you a question. If you want to answer that, and then we'll wrap things up for this week.
Do you have a basic philosophy behind game dev or some kind of mission statement that helps you form some kind of grounding? I mean, I just try making the best game possible, and I listen to all feedback, and I very much try to encourage feedback, and I try as much as I can to encourage people to give as much feedback as they can, kind of thing. And sometimes when I'm in public, I feel like I do a bad job at that because a lot of times they suggest stuff that I've already tried, kind of thing. It's like, no, I don't think that'll work. I've already tried that, and nobody liked it, kind of thing. And I feel kind of off-putting, but like I try to encourage as much as I can of that. Well, not the repeating stuff, but the as much feedback as I can. And I'm not like I remember one point I put myself as trying to create unique games, and I've gotten very, very distant away from that. Like I don't need my game to be quote unquote unique. I need it to be different and stand out from other crowds, but I don't need it to be unique. You know what I mean? It's a tactical RPG. It's a game that it's a genre that people like. I'm going to build the best tactical RPG I can build, kind of thing, based off of feedback, based off of a unique mechanic here and there. But a unique mechanic does not make a unique game. It makes a game that stands out rather than and a game that's different rather than a unique game, kind of thing. And I mean, I don't think I could really add more to that other than just just trial and error. Iteration is key. That's iteration is key. That's the thing. It's like that's one of the things to live by, in my opinion, because like I know, like throughout throughout the font, like people were really loving it at first. They were absolutely loving it, and they were like, "That is perfect." And then after that, I was like, "It's not done yet, though." And people were complaining about it being on the card in all black and everything, and said it looked plain. And then I added the color to it, and now everybody's like, "It should be black," because like the color just really makes it hard to read and all this other stuff. And ended up finding issues, like the fact is I think a lot of the when we just added color, it became unreadable because there was no outline, and it just sort of, I guess, blurred, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then when we added the outline, that like closed a lot of the gaps. So like the O that was supposed to have a hole in the middle no longer had a hole in the middle because there's an outline all the way around it. there was no like holes in between the legs of the M. You know, there was no holes between the legs and the N, so that made it hard to read. And like adjusting all these things, and we ended up getting it far more readable kind of thing. And like like just a version ago, like people were telling me, suggesting that I just throw the entire thing away and restart. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I think we're getting close kind of thing. And then, like, release this new version that I just released. And it seems like half of the people are really liking it, maybe a little bit more. And the other, like, 40% are really hating it and say it's unreadable, while the like 60% are saying, yeah, that's really readable kind of thing. And I'm getting lots of comments today and last night about how how it's either freaking horrible or freaking awesome kind of thing, and nothing else. And then
That's always good.
I think I got one comment today about maybe there's something wrong with the saturation of my colors. So, and at this point, I haven't had any other information, despite getting, I don't know, probably about a couple hundred comments on it. That's like the only like real usable feedback I've gotten. I mean, like, somebody suggested me doing a white outline. I was like, yeah, but it's on a white background, which would be white on white. There would be no outline at that point. He's like, I've seen blue circuits in there. Yeah, but those are really transparent. That's not going to be much of an outline. That's going to be more like a hole in the slightly transparentness of it, rather than an outline. It's like that's going to defeat the purpose of an outline, to make it stand out, kind of thing. And like I got that. And I was like, that ain't going to work. And I did get one suggestion at one point. I don't know if it was because of the but they were not looking at the font, but they were suggesting maybe the background, instead of being white, be a different color. And I asked them what kind of color they suggested, kind of thing, because it probably can't be anything dark because of the dark outline, and they were suggesting black. It's like, yeah, that really doesn't work with a darkish gunmetal outline. So like, I'm really having struggling with a direction to go on that one. And yeah, it's hard when you do not get you get a lot of people saying it's good, and a lot of people saying it's bad, and not very many people saying anything else. It makes it really hard, because like, honestly, like, I'm struggling with a way to go there. I'm going to try some different saturations and whatnot, and make several different versions and see how that works. And beyond that, like, I have no idea what to do at this point. But maybe I make that, and somebody gives me some feedback, that maybe that's all the problem is, and that's solves it, or maybe it doesn't. And when I submit that for feedback again, I get usable feedback at that point, with a very minor change, kind of thing. And people, night and day with their comments, kind of thing. You just never know. Like, feedback is rough. Yeah, and readability is huge on that. And but also style is too, on a game like this, kind of thing.
Just so make it completely readable and illegible at the same time. Make it safely extreme.
Yeah. It may actually be that, with like 60% saying it's perfectly readable and 40% saying it's not readable at all.
There we go.
But yeah, readability is huge. Style is huge, and I have to find that line where readability is really good. Maybe not perfect, because I don't think you're ever going to get perfect readability, but it needs to be really solid readability, pretty much across the board, and it needs to have a lot of style across the board, and finding that point has been so far mission impossible, because I have worked on this font for so long and so much and so many iterations. I have more iterations on the font than I do literally anything else at this point.
All right, but I do need to get going for today. I think this was a really solid chat.
Yeah, I do too. And
All right.
it was definitely interesting with some of the feedback we got, or some of the comments rather. I'm on feedback at this point.
There we go.
My mind's on that track.
Well, we're going to say goodnight here. I will be back later tonight for our regular game streams, and we will be back next Sunday around 4:30 ET for our next live show. The topic will be the rabbit hole of mobile games, and Shark Dolphin will be attending.
Yeah.
Or Dolphin Shark.
Yeah, there we go.
But if you'd like to follow me, I am on Twitter at GW. Ooh, my mouth is just dry as hell. I am on Twitter at GWBicer, and you'll find links to our Discord down below where we talk game design, topics, and more.
Yep. And you can find me on Twitter at Nexus Games INC1. And you can also find mine and Josh's Discords down in the description. And you can also find mine and Josh's YouTube channels down in the description too. So if you're on his stream, you can follow mine. If you're on mine, you can follow his. And I would definitely suggest both. And you can also, like, if you want to be here for the live streams, more than likely you either need to be on our Discord or have the bell rung or both. Because, like, sometimes Discord doesn't get posted up there, and sometimes YouTube doesn't alert people of streams. So, like... It's a great time of not getting the notifications you want, isn't it?
Of course. All right. Well, folks, that is going to do it. So have a great rest of your weekend and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where is in the art and science of games. Until next chat, have a great day.
See ya.